This is a series of films that tells the history of contemporary fashion photography as seen through the eyes of models. How do you feel about the rise of fashion film?
So exciting. Fashion film to me is, as a model speaking, it's what we're talking about now. It's really that, where we are human beings. We're not just faces that you see in magazines. We also have a voice and ideas, and for me anyway, as a model, it's, as I've said, very much a performance, and to be able now to for people to see that in these fashion films is great. I think it's so exciting.
So do you see a difference between modelling for fashion film and modelling for a still image?
I really don't. I don't, because, unless it's scripted or there's something very definite about it, but otherwise, I think, and I know that because you film it, but it's just movement.
Tell me about the difference between how you're perceived as an actress as opposed to being perceived as a model. Is it very similar?
Kind of. What do you mean perceived? By who?
How are you treated? Is it different?
Well, how you're treated is extraordinarily different, because as an actress, and I first realized that when we did, you and I had shot the Dior Addict fragrance, and then they made a commercial for that with Jake Scott, and we all went to Budapest, and it was really fun and exciting, and we did all of this work, running down rainy streets in Budapest, but I was actually treated really well, and I was like, oh wow, I've got my own trailer, like John has his trailer and I've got my trailer. They gave me an assistant that kept asking me if I needed anything. And that was the first time I'd seen anything like that. I was like, wow. As a model, I think that's the other thing that people don't realize, is that you're really, on your own, unless you employ your own manager. It's you getting up, getting the plane, getting to work, bringing what you might need for it, and preparing yourself. You're not really mollycoddled at all on set. Often you're lucky if there's a robe. It's very, very different. Very.
And do you think that's because in film they see it as a lifetime career?
I think it must
modeling,
be.
it's
maybe.
Considered shorter.
It really is a huge difference in respect for the person. I think they have respect for talent much more. Well, obviously there's unions and organizations in modeling. There's nothing like that.
No.
You have your agents, which, obviously look after you to a certain extent, but they're not managing you necessarily. They're not looking after you on a day-to-day basis. They're just giving you your chart. Okay, tomorrow you've got to be in Paris at 9 a.m. This is your train or whatever it is. And you just keep going. You just keep going.
Okay.
Alexander Wang.
Catwalk image.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the difference between catwalk and having your photograph
So
taken.
different. So different. I've got to say, I'm not a fan of the runway.
For what reasons?
I get so nervous, extraordinarily nervous. I don't know. I'm little and I've got little feet, and so, I need shoes that fit and simple things like that. It's wonderful to walk for a designer in one way, but when you're dressed to look the same as every other girl, there's definitely an art to bringing who you are out on the runway. I'm not sure if I ever perfected that, to be honest with you. I don't really know. To me, it's very different. I love to be in more quiet, intense. I like to be on set so much more.
And when you're doing a runway show, how much do you feel that, do you feel any connection between the audience? Are you aware of people you know?
No.
Is it really?
I think you know people there, and that makes you. Then you're like, but you can't. You just have to. For me anyway, I just focus on getting down it and getting back.
And to the bank of hundreds and hundreds of cameras at the end. Yes. Do you ever? Because there's a very big difference in modelling from sort of the 1970s, how some models would model, and even in the early 80s. So models were asked to express themselves, to dance, to sort of interact with the audience, to interact with the cameras.
No, it's completely the opposite now.
Now it tends to be. So, and do you miss that? Would you prefer that you were allowed to be more?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite. I recently did this thing for Corinne Rockfield. She did the Amphar runway,
Right.
and that was quite fun because every designer had designed a gold dress.
Yeah.
And so all of us were dressed in these fabulous gold. And she told us to do that. She said, you know, I don't want you just to be sort of like not making eye contact. She said, have fun, look at your friends, dance a bit. And it was just, I mean, it was very different because it's not obviously a high-end fashion runway show, but it kind of makes you more personable, which was interesting.
And what sort of brief do you get from John Galliano or from Alexander Wang? Do they talk to you and say, I want you to be this sort of woman? What do you get choreographed?
They're all different.
Right.
Some shows they would have big, you know, things saying, you know, strong, powerful, beautiful, sexy, or something, and then others wouldn't have anything at all. Alexander's just very clean, and you kind of, you know, it's just straightforward, this show.
And with John Galliano, would he give you a sort of
Yeah,
a story
he would give
or
me,
a person? Or?
Not really, but it was just, yeah, I mean, he would just, I remember he said to me, like, strong, Liberty, strong, right before he shoved me out. But that was just, yeah, that's, I mean, his show particularly really is really memorable to me because it was such a thing with him.
And the physical thing of doing it, how long were you there getting ready for the show?
Hours.
So
4 hours maybe before. I mean, you know, in Milan, I remember, you know, you'd get up, sometimes you'd do fittings till 2 or 3 in the morning, and then you'd have to be 4:30 or 5, you know, backstage at your first show. That's really a circus, you know, it's very full on when you're doing that, you know, the proper show season thing. It's crazy. And you know, taking makeup on and off 5 times a day as, you know, your skin gets really sore and your eyes endlessly kind of being drawn, you know, eyeliner and things, and your hair being pulled in all different directions. And
how do you take to, because there is a very large degree of people pushing and pulling you around. I mean that, you know,
you have
we
to
know
find your
Sam
inner...
and Val and everybody, and they're all lovely, but they are physically manipulating you, and not always in a sort of, you know, delicate way.
No, that's hard. That's part of your job. Just zip it.
Yeah.
Find your inner zen somehow and just go in there. That's what I do. Yeah, especially when there's so much madness around you. It just doesn't, to me, being mad on top of that is not my thing. I go inwards.
From the moment you've been made up, had your hair done, then you dressed?
Yep, then you're dressed.
And how many people dress you?
It depends how late you are, you know.
Oh, really?
Because if you show up, if you've done another, you know, the show right before, then you could be arriving, you know, after many of the other girls. So then there'll be like 20 people on you. I remember one time, you know, I had like 6 people ironing my hair and someone doing my eye makeup, and then, you know, they had the hair irons and they pulled it down and they burnt my nose.
Nice.
And so then I had to get on a plane to go to Milan the next day with this like burnt nose. It's just horrible. But the hairdresser sent me a gigantic bunch of flowers and was very apologetic, obviously. But, you know, that really is how it is. It's just crazy.
So you made up, your hair done, you made up, nails done.
Yep.
You're dressed. Then what happens to you?
Shoes on, then you get in the lineup, and, you know, they may or may not say, okay, girls, this is what we want. And then it's high energy, loud music, and you're just on, and off you go.
And how long are you in the lineup for?
It depends. It's always different, but not terribly long.
Right. And what are you feeling at that point?
Nervous.
Right. Do you go quiet when you get nervous, or do you speak?
No, I go quite quiet. This Wang show, I was really nervous, and I had my protective rock in my hand,
Oh, really?
which I handed to Guido right before I went out, and I was like, just hold my rocks.
Yeah. Did he give it back?
Yes, he gave it straight back, which made me feel like it was rather annoying that he'd had to hold it. But no, it's cool. It's fun, you know. Now I know all these people for so long, so it's nice.
But there are some models who seem to absolutely love that moment.
Yeah, I think it's different for everyone, you know.
Yeah.
I just love the studio work so much, so much, that, you know, this is great. It's a completely different thing, but it's also part of my job, and, you know, doing this Wang show was great for me.
Ever fallen over on a runway?
I haven't fallen over, but I have a 36 size foot.
Yeah.
And most models are, as you know, Amazonians with 40, 42 size foot. So generally, I have like these shoes that are somehow taped or stuffed or something to try and keep them on. I remember I did a show, I can't remember who it was for, but I was quite young and it was in New York and it was a big deal. And Anna Wintour was in the front row and I had stuffed these shoes because, you know, they didn't have any straps or anything. So I'd stuffed them with lots of cotton pads and things. And sure enough, you know, step 3, one of them like flew off into the crowd. And I thought, oh shit. You know, there was like paper falling out of them. So I thought, oh God. So I just took the other one off and kind of put it over my shoulder and carried on walking down the runway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard.